Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another ship-fitting video for Eve Echoes. Now in the past we've covered small projectile turrets in regards to the Thrasher, we've looked at energy turrets with the Coercer, we've then looked at drones using the Galente Algos, and I've equipped out a Minmatar Talwar to showcase missiles. This time around, I'm going along the lines of what if you started Caldari or Galente and you've been using hybrid turrets. So today we're going to look at hybrid turrets, how they work, what you can do with them, and what ships are going to be a great starting point for you. Now, before I begin, of course, as usual, I do have a lot of fun making these videos, and I love hearing your thoughts as well. I really do enjoy interacting with you guys, so leave comments down in below in the videos. Come join me on Discord, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, you name it. I'll have all those details either on screen now or in the description below, so come and find me. If you do enjoy this content as well, it really helps if you can hit a like on the video, give it a big thumbs up. It's a massive help. You don't understand how much that can really mean to someone. And give it a share, or indeed subscribe if you haven't already. Anyway, all that said and done, let's jump right into looking at hybrid turrets. Now you see, of course, I've come out of a Minmatar ship here. Minmatar ships tend to have either projectile turrets or missiles. Like as we've looked as well, the Amar ships tend to have energy turrets or drones, the Galente ships tend to have hybrid turrets or drones, and here for Caldari, they tend to have either missiles or the hybrid turrets. And this particular ship here is the Cormorant. This is the one I'm going to showcase a basic starting loadout for using hybrid turrets. This isn't the very best ship for doing PvE or ratting, or yes, indeed PvP, with hybrid turrets, but it is a great starting point. This entire ship cost me less than 100,000 ISK in Masper's market. Believe it or not, this was a stupidly cheap loadout, and that is a whack of DPS right there, but it does come with a little asterisk and a point that we're going to cover now. So let's have a look at, first of all, how hybrid turrets work. Now, as with missiles, where you've got short and long-range versions and things like your projectile turrets, you've got the autocannons and then you've got howitzers, short and long-range, that kind of thing. Same is true for hybrid turrets. You have short-range neutron blasters and you have long-range railguns. Now here I have equipped this ship with light neutron blasters, and you'll notice they're only Mark III. I haven't gone for very high power ones, I haven't gone for the very expensive ones. This is just a starting build, and again, we're looking straight away at 126.97 DPS using Mark III neutron blasters. These things do insane damage. Single hit damage 123 with a 424% damage modifier. That is a huge amount of damage. The downside, however, comes with their range. Neutron blasters are the shortest range turrets in the game. They've got a decent enough tracking speed, thank goodness, 561. They have to, because you have to be that close and personal that those turrets need to be spinning like a Beyblade or something. But absolutely, these are the shortest range turrets out there. Again, if we look at those stats, just in case you haven't watched the other videos looking at different types of turrets, optimal range is the range at which you are most effective. Accuracy fall-off is the distance beyond optimal that you drop from 100% effectiveness down to 50, and then another accuracy fall-off will take you down to 0% effectiveness. So in this case, our optimal range is 1.5 kilometers, and the accuracy fall-off is 2.4. That means add 1.5 and 2.4 together, and we get 3.9. 3.9 kilometers is the range at which you will be 50% effective with these guns. An additional accuracy fall off onto that 3.9, so 3.9 plus 2.4 comes to a 5.9, 6.3. Please correct my maths in the comments below if I've got that wrong. But at 6.3 kilometers, you are going to be ineffective. 0% effectiveness with these turrets. That's how short range they are. You have to get ridiculously up close and personal. Now for that, it's going to mean that this is great for taking out things like enemy cruisers, or anything that's using medium-size turrets, because medium-sized turrets tend to have a very low tracking speed. You're right up next to them. You're within a blasted kilometer, for crying out loud. You are going to be orbiting at a very short range to your target. You're going to be very hard to track, and as you've seen, the damage that these guys can do is utterly insane. But of course, it does put you right in harm's way. Can be risky if you're going up against missile users or other neutron blasters, that kind of thing. Anyway, so let's have a look at how I've kitted this bad boy out in order to use it. Now, as I said, straight off the bat, I have 3 of those light neutron blasters. I could, if I scroll down here on the right, I could have gone for the railguns. I will just showcase those quickly. Mark III 150mm railgun. If I look at these as well, you'll see they're much slower tracking speed. Optimal range is considerably larger at 9 kilometers. Accuracy fall off for 5 kilometers, mean you're 100% at 9. 50% at 14 and 0% at 19 kilometers. So you've got an effective range of 19 kilometers there. Damage just though is not nearly as high. Single hit 51.85 with the modifier of 179%, 15.95 total damage. It's a massive difference. It should also be noted that the damage type of neutron blasters and railguns, you can see here, it is mainly kinetic, 62.1%, and kinetic is great against against armor tanks. And 37.9% thermal damage. Thermal damage is great at punching through shields, so this is a great sort of ship that is going to punch fairly effectively through shields, and then punch fairly effectively through armor as well, which makes it perfect for cruiser hunting. Anyway, so that's our high slots. In our medium slot, I have gone for a small energy Nosferatu, because this is a fairly power-hungry build. I want, therefore, to be able to sap some of my opponent's capacitor and add it to my own capacitor, just to keep me sailing. You can see here it is a stable capacitor build, which is always useful. Now, if we look into the defense slot, you'll see I've got 1451 there for shield, armor is only 928, and structure is a piddly 866. This is therefore 100% a shield tanking ship, just in case that destroyer command bonus of plus 5% shield didn't tip you off already. So you want to be equipping shields. I've therefore gone for an afterburner so I can get up close and personal right into that very short orbit range very, very quickly. Could also put a micro warp drive there. I just prefer the afterburner as it's that little bit, like, it's faster to use. Small shield booster for tanking that damage on the shields, and a shield hardener, reactive shield hardener, can't say that word, hardener, for switching the resistances on my shields if I'm getting pummeled by something that's, say, electromagnetic. Now, finally, if you've watched my other tutorials on the different turret types and different weapons, you'll know that different weapons have different weapon boosters. So if you're using projectile turrets, it's the gyro stabilizer. Missiles use ballistic control modules, and drones use drone damage amplifiers. Heat sinks for your energy turrets, that kind of thing. For hybrid turrets, that is a magnetic field stabilizer. You equip one of these to your ship, you tap it, and suddenly, bam, you're going to be doing more damage and firing more frequently. You can see here it's about a 5% damage boost, and minus 3.25% adjustment for the speed that it cycles, but an additional then 6.49 damage modifier bonus adjustment, and 400% adjustment bonus for the duration and activation time. So this ultimately is a great little ship now for getting up close and personal, punching holes in enemy cruisers, that kind of thing. But as I said, it's not the greatest ship out there. It is a brilliant start for going with hybrid turrets. If you want to go for, if you like the hybrid turret idea and you want to upgrade from here, start off with your Cormorant. That's it there, the Cormorant. Then consider upping to a Cormorant 2. A Cormorant 2 is just a flat upgrade, whereas the Cormorant 1 only has a 30% small hybrid turret damage bonus. This one gets you 50%. The small hybrid turret operation on this particular one gives you additional damage. I think it's an additional 2%, was it? Or is it 10% standard? There we are, 10% turret damage, 10% fall off, whereas here it is 12% damage and 8% tracking speed, which makes it better at shooting up close. And then finally at the bottom, destroyer command, rather than just 5% shield, also gives you an additional 10% small hybrid turret accuracy fall off, which used to be under small hybrid turret operation bonus, but it's now under destroyer command on the Cormorant 2, so you still get it there. You also have a slightly larger power grid, so it's just a little bit easier to fit the things you want to. Now, beyond this, of course, is then the Cormorant Navy issue. This is like your golden boy for when it comes to equipping out a Cormorant. Yes, you lose the 50% damage bonus, but think about it this way. If you've got 3 turrets doing 100 damage, you go from, say, 300 damage there. You've now got 4 turrets here, which is then 400. The previous one, the 300 plus 50% is 450. You do drop to 400% on your 400 damage points, but you then get an additional minus 10% hybrid turret activation time, so you're firing faster, and that will 5 skill points in advanced small hybrid turret operation, that will outclassify that additional 50% damage that you would get in the Cormorant too. So you will be doing a lot more damage on here as well. You get that second mid slot as well. Scan resolution and sensor strength aren't overly important at this point in the beta. Essentially just look at it this way, that the Cormorant Navy issue, by having the 4 turrets and the reduced speed, you will do more damage than you would with 3 turrets and a 50% bonus. But anyway, it's all very well and good me talking about how awesome this ship is. Surely we should undock it and have a look at what it can do. So I'm going to undock this now, and then we're going to go off and do a couple of missions. Right, I am here now at Augur, ready to do a combat encounter to showcase how this particular ship works. Now, before we jump in, I just wanted to showcase one of the cool little animations that the Cormorant has, and that's when you go to warp. You'll see here, it folds its wings down, and all of the little pods here tilt up into position to give it a more streamlined shape for hitting warp speed. I just love how the Cormorant does this. It's a couple of ships have these little animations, and it always amuses me. I find it a beautiful little touch. Anyway, here we are pulling into a combat situation. So what I'm going to do straight up is, of course, open up my thing here, lock on with the overview when we get to out of warp speed. There we go. Now with these, I do need to get, as we've said, ridiculously close. So I'm going to activate straight away that afterburner so that I can close the gap quickly. Because I can start firing the turrets now, but you'll see they just miss and don't really do much at this point in time. You can see I'm locked on there, 5 kilometers, 4 kilometers. I'm not really doing much damage at all. But now, as I get closer and closer, I will start to do a small amount of damage. It's just the difficulty of getting right close and personal to these. So if I go to the orbit, I'm going to purposely orbit right the way down at the 1 kilometer point there. Get nice and close and personal. We are going to put on that damage amplifier as well and get in close. See what we can do, because that accuracy fall off with these turrets is always going to be an issue. But once they're in range, crikey, you can see the damage that they can do. And I'm also going to put on that energy Nosferatu because I really need that at this point in time. There we are. That hit, when it actually connects, is pretty powerful. So again, here we are going to approach. I'm not going to go straight orbit. I'm going to go approach because I want to get as close as possible. And you'll see that once I start hitting some range, those turrets are going to really whack some damage. There it is. These are just Mark 3s, remember, and at this short range, you'll see now, they will punch holes in that Gisty Thrasher, wreck it in, basically one more hit should do it. There we go, and down goes that Gisty Thrasher. Now there is the issue, as I said, in this particular case, that things are just that little bit short range. I'm trying to zoom out, there we go. Because things are quite short range, I'm not able to actively lock on. I do prefer ultimately using the turrets, the railguns, but I wanted to showcase how the blasters can work if you can get up close and personal. Best thing to do, as I've said before, is not to orbit, I find, is just to approach, go headlong at someone, and try and get to that range. And again, I'm going to put my damage control on there, not my damage control, my damage amplifier on there, and just punch for some extra damage. Now we've got the Destroyer wrecks here that I can be looting as well, so let's grab those while we're doing some damage here. Mark 3 Afterburner. Very nice. Small shield booster and a howitzer. And finally, what's in this last frigate wreck? Minmatar ship debris. Awesome. Okay, let's lock on. We are going to approach again. And as we approach, we're going to activate our turrets and the energy Nosferatu and get in as quick as possible to this Gisty Vigil, because I need to be up close and personal. I'm being 6Ks away, 5Ks. It's not overly helpful with these guns. Remember, 6K is like the maximum range. That's proving difficult for me to get into that last bit here. Can I swap my targets here, please? We'll manually target to the 2K one, and you'll see the difference in damage that we can pull now. 1 cycle, 2 cycle, 3 cycles kills. The damage that these can do is insane, as long as you can get up close and personal enough to actually do that damage. Now what I like to do is, ultimately, you see there are the 3 turret icons under the 7 kilometer mark there. I'm going to basically approach that one. I wait to see what my turrets lock onto, and then I'll approach that. It should be one of the 8 kilometer, I was about to say should be one of the 8 kilometer ones next, and they all became 8 kilometers. Should go down to one of the 7 kilometers ones in just a moment, but once I get within 2Ks, you see those blasters just do some insane damage. Now I am going to need to move in on one of the others fairly quickly, because as it currently stands, I'm moving quite a distance away. All of my shields, etc., are targeted onto something that is 12 kilometers away. My shield, sorry, my energy Nosferatu, so I'm not actually getting the proper drain from it. So I need to get up close and personal. Could be worth turning the micro warp drive off at this point. Not micro warp drive, keep calling it that, the afterburner off at this point. But otherwise, here we are, nice and close to the 2 kilometer mark. And we can now hit an orbit on one of these as well, now that we're up close and personal. I can also possibly consider turning that afterburner off. As it stands, I'm quite happy leaving it the way it is. Capacitor's a little low, but we can handle that. It's not a problem yet. 6 kilometers, we've come a little bit too far away from that Gisty Thrasher, so no, we're not going to worry about orbit. We are going to continue using the approach function. Useful for me to try this. As I said, I don't often get to use hybrid turrets. I'm more using the small projectile turrets, that kind of thing. So for me, it's just nice to try this out, showcase it for you guys. Yeah, we're going to turn off that afterburner now. Don't need it quite as much now that we're nice, close and personal. Let's get that capacitor refueling. There we go. And turn off my shield booster for a little bit of time. It's not great. I don't like having to turn that off, but I need that capacitor to come back up that little bit faster. So I'm just showcasing here as well other little things that you can do in regards to combat. We're going to approach this one now and move in. So combat as well, I'm getting to showcase here as well that you can, obviously as things go, you can play around with your capacitor, just keep an eye on things. Now that I'm a little bit closer and the energy Nosferatu's kicked in, I can reactivate the shield booster. You see that's now feeding, the energy Nosferatu is feeding off of this Thrasher 2, recharging my capacitor and allowing me to keep my shield booster going pretty much indefinitely. There we are, one more cycle should do that. Bang, there goes the Gisty Thrasher. Finally, let's approach this last one. Little bit messy, but there we go. I don't think that's done badly at all, considering this ship cost less than 100,000 ISK to build and equip in completion. And as I'll showcase in just a moment, I have no skills whatsoever to help me with this particular ship. So if you've got hybrid turret damage and things like that, you're going to do even better with a build like this. For me, it's a little bit messy because it's well and truly out of my skill points. But let's have a look at what I mean there. So let's skip through all of this and we'll start looting, and I'll go through it now. Okay, so if I open up my skill tree, obviously if you're using hybrid turrets, you're going to want to go to weapon technology and to hybrid turrets. And you can see here, small hybrid turret operation, I only have those 2 skills in it. You're going to want to get that all the way up to level 5 as soon as possible, so that you can get that small hybrid turret damage of 20%, 10% tracking speed, and 10% to the optimal range. After which, I would then normally go down to small hybrid turret upgrade. So again, you can get that additional 15% damage and the 15% accuracy fall off, allows you to go at a bit further range, then go into advanced small projectile hybrid turret. See, I can't stop talking about projectile turrets. And the reason you want to get this one in, up at least to level 4, preferably to level 5, is that magnetic field stabilizer duration. That means that magnetic field stabilizer that I was using, ultimately you can use it for longer. I'm just drifting out into space here, let's move in and loot on these. Ultimately, that particular that magnetic field stabilizer, as you can see, it currently lasts for 20 seconds. Once you've got that skill point, it's 22 seconds. It doesn't sound much, those 2 seconds do make a big difference. That can be an additional 2 cycles of your weapon, and certainly when you're having to use capacitor on this particular ship to activate that magnetic field stabilizer, if you can make the magnetic field stabilizer last for longer, you're getting more out of your capacitor. Simple economics, I suppose. Anyway, that showcases what I wanted to with the Cormorant and using hybrid turrets. Again, I just wanted to showcase that the damage on the blasters can be utterly insane, but it does come at the downside of having to get really up close and personal, which can be a struggle in some situations. As you saw there, I had to actually manually approach stuff rather than just orbit around it, because I'm not quite fast enough to get into that orbit. But, so on a Cormorant, therefore, I would look instead probably at more like railguns. Keep your distance, punch from a bit of range. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you found that helpful. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.